Hello, it is Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday today. Actually, did I edit my thing? I did. I really wanted to do something different today, but the problem is you've got to have designed it, printed it, laminated it, pricked it, as we know, because we did a stream on that. As a result, I am sad to say I have not. As a result of having not, I find myself, well, facing the simple fact that, we need to do one of the things that I've already got done. Try just things poking up and things on my computer going, "Hey me!" and it's like, no, let's stick that on there. Right. There we go. So, I feel that it is time then. What else can we do? But start square number 9. Now, I haven't exactly prepped any bobbins, so we need to do that as we go. I have no idea where my scissors are, because they're not where I thought they were. So, it's going to be a day. We're going to have chaos and mayhem. But that's the way it goes. So I need some of these. So, yes, unfortunately it means I will be tying knots off stream again. Or off screen, more accurately. As I struggle to do this. Ow. And I've done something to my finger again. I moaned about it before, and I can't explain it, but it's not this joint, it's not, although this joint's a bit sore, it's kind of in the middle. So I don't know quite what's wrong with it. I don't even remember breaking this one, so it's not like I have, you know, decent excuses for it. It's just, you know, shit, really. So, it's the way it goes. But it is square time. So I haven't got confidence in that. It is right. Okay. It's the only one that matters. See, but that's not... See, this is one of the things where you pull on it and the thing that you're not expecting to move moves, and then you're just getting longer for the sake of it already. Anyway, I'm trying to put the knots at the top of the pin, and it's kind of, well, not happening half-half, as the phrase goes. Alright, so... It's going to be a very slow run today, because I have to really wish I knew what was up with this finger though. You may notice I'm not wearing my customary beige jumper. It's because it's in the wash. And while I have 28,000 more of them, it's been really warm here today. So I am, rather oddly for me, wearing basically a shawl. Now it's not a shawl, but it's kind of a shawl. In fact, I don't really quite know what to call it, for I am not a fashionista. But basically it's kind of a rectangle blanket with a slit in it. So it's a bit of a poncho type thing. And because now, once again, I will raise my Neuro spicy hat for this, but I get picked on by flies. It's the only description for it is they pick on me, and it's just the one fly. But it doesn't matter how small a midge fly gnat thing is. If it lands on me, I can feel it. Whether it's in my hair, it could land on one hair, I would feel that. And they come along and they kind of go and flick me and fly away. And it drives me absolutely insane. So, because I've been sitting here with kind of a vest top on, I've got some modesty after all. Damn thing has been flicking my eyes, banging my face, tried to crawl up my wretched nose. Well, tried to fly up my nose last night. This thing needs to go do one, right? I've got one of those zappy fly swatter things, but 99.9% of the time, the little bastard is absolutely invisible. I swear it's like sitting across the room with Sniper on it. Waiting for the opportune moment. Because normally if you've got a fly, they kind of do laps around the lights in the ceiling. Or, where are all my dogs actually? Oh, there's one. Assuming the other one's out in the hall. Yes, I mentioned dog. Hello? Yeah, you fell off my leg. You fell off. Yes, you did. Where's your bruv? That's more interesting. I could see you. Where's Rory? No, don't try it. You're falling off again. Part of the reason for that is because I'm leaning on my leg. Therefore, I am occupying most of my leg myself. So there isn't really a lot of room for little doggies. No. No. But if you fall off my leg one more time and scratch the living crap out of my knee, as you just did, I will not be best pleased. No. Where's your brother? Rory! Oh, there you are. Hiding. Hiding. Yes, she's a good boy. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter, little man? Come here. Your sister is ready for a punch on the nose. Yes, you are. Annoying doggy dog. You very much. You're right, Rory. You're right. What's the matter? Gave him a little scritch on top of his head and he ran away like it hurt. You alright? You good boy. Yes, you are. Go on. Right, just checking everyone's alright. Because I know you lot. So yes, it has been a long day. So, one thing I was going to say to you is, I made like 10 bobbins on stream yesterday. Well, I made about another 10, and then went up before I went to bed last night. So I now have 20 bobbins. And obviously I want them to kind of, and I've just realised a hideous thing. Oh, pants. I made more bobbins, but what I didn't do was put varnish on them, and they've mingled, so I don't actually know which ones are varnished now. I can imagine though, I can tell by looking. I know it sounds really bad, but I'm pretty sure I should be able to tell by looking, because the undone ones should have a sheen to them. So I'm going to say you are in that pile. I imagine you are on this pile. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So one of you potentially does not have possibly you. Now this one's definitely got varnish on it. I'm going to say that one's blacker. Oh, maybe you. You're a bit rough though. No, you were the really rough one. I'm looking for one with a slightly red hue to it. Because that's the one I did that had... That's a good point. 2, 4, 6, 8 and 12. So that may be all of the ones that I put varnish on, because I did 10 last night, and all of these I feel have got a layer of varnish on it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. This must be the ones I did after, because they've all got the red hue that you get when you cover them in Sharpie and haven't. So I'm going to split them up a bit more in my pile, handling them delicately because obviously the colour rubs off, and make sure I haven't got any on my hands. But yes, I made some more. I coloured the rest of the sticks. So I have about 20, maybe 30 more sticks that I coloured in. But clearly I have to do a lot more sticks, because as we know, this takes nearly 100 sticks. So, I got growingly frustrated with the fact that where's the unbridled stick? Is that the unbridled stick? Yeah, that's an unbridled stick. So, although this is one of the nasty sticks, I did get very frustrated with the pretty beads, because some of them, so here's probably a good one, some of them fit straight on. And no, that one fits. But that one, for example, doesn't. And there's nothing I can do to the bead to make it bigger. All I can do is make the stick smaller. So I almost have to go through and find out on a basis. See, that's, oh no, that one does fit sort of. I don't mind if they're really tight, but obviously if they're too tight or small enough, I can't get them on. So that's a small one. That looks a small one. That is exceptionally tight, but it does go on. That one goes on. It's too small. Very tight, but it will do. I mean, it proves that these got a lot more variance than I expected it to have, to give me credit, you know. I makes them come over a bit more handmade. That one kind of doesn't. That one sits on the fence. That's really tight. It's really tight. Really tight is okay, but I do want to kind of get them all the way on the sticks, so they're flat with the ends, which if they're really tight is difficult, but when they're really baggy, of course, they just come straight off again. But yeah, basically, you know, there are a number of smaller ones that don't really fit. I'm going to have to grade them to these baggy ones, really tight ones that I'll need to do a light sandpaper, and ones that I'll need to do kind of a decent sandpaper on. Because obviously I don't want to sandpaper them all to discover I've got a really baggy one. I will have to count them. I did think about ordering some more, because although in theory I've got 120, and each of the others, well, obviously I've used 20 or whatever it is, so most of the other pots should contain 80 beads. They don't look it, they really don't. And of course, in something like this, one of the biggest cons they can do to you, of course, is, you know, oh, it's 100 pieces, but they then do it by weight, and so of course it's not 100 pieces. It'll be like, you know, 88, and you're like, that's not really 100. So I don't know. I have reservations, but I also need to wait. So I shall be. There you go. Back again. Right. So, right. So I apologise for that. Urgent calls of nature and all that. Right. So, how you all doing? Come on. You've all been quiet today. You've all been very quiet. Crap. Where did my scissors go? What the hell? Now I've lost 2 pairs of scissors. How have I lost pairs of scissors? How in the name of mercy have I lost pairs of scissors? One pair is probably underneath something, I get that. But there was the pair of scissors I was using mere moments ago. How the hell have I lost... Oops. What the fuck? How? Oh, there they are. That's right. Phew. I spent... One of the things that seems to be universally recognised is, as a crafter, you spend your entire life buying scissors because you... Either because someone else has used them for non-crafting and now they're as blunt as hell, or because they've gone like socks into the great void that is somewhere in and you have no idea where the void is, but you've bought like 68 pairs of scissors and today you have none, right? It just seems to be a crafter's, you know, it just seems to be a universal kind of issue. You could have like an entire room full of boxes of scissors and you'll go in one day and all those boxes will be empty, you know. And it will happen real quick. I swear, you don't sharpen them. Once they become duller, they just like commit Harry-Carry or something and disappear, and you now have to buy new ones. I know you understand the fascination of not, well, the really another square kind of moment. Sorry, I'm listening to something, and it's wholly inappropriate, and and I can't share it. But it involves a tub of Vaseline and what two guys suggested they did with it. So in true British format, I'm laughing at it. Goodness, that was not a sentence I expected to hear today. You may recall that my body's reaction to impending doom, utter inappropriateness, and all of that is basically to laugh at it, because, well, what else can you do? Oh goodness, really, did I hear that? It was said so calmly as well. Oh my goodness. So I've got to share this with the co-worker. He'll find this as funny as I will, to be totally honest. I can't believe they said that. Ah, dear me. Oh well. Oh well, such is the way. Oops. Yes. Stop rolling. Miserable bobbin. Now I'm getting hotter. It can't be this hot. It really can't. Hey Flusenby, how you doing? I'm having a day, as always. Seems to be the kind of theme of the year, to be honest. But they are definitely weird. Thank you. I appreciate a virtual hug. I really do. Because to be honest, much as doggy hugs are a good thing, they're not quite the same. They usually involve a bit more claws and teeth. I got a bit annoyed with Rory last night and I had to say sorry to him, but at the same time he deserved it. It was one of those kind of moments. He was licking me a lot and it was getting a bit infuriating. And he actually nibbled my lip, stroke face, stroke, that, I can't remember what it's called, the little bit kind of just under your nose, the top of your lip. Took his teeth to it. Now it was not a hard, draw blood kind of thing. It really was nibs, for want of a better word. But the little bugger, it's quite a sensitive area. The little bugger used his teeth on it, and it was like 2 o'clock this morning, so I was not best pleased. So yeah, I could kind of. Definitely was not something I needed in my life last night. So yeah. Bobbins. So I know a lot of these bobbins are going to run out, like this one. There's no way that's going to be enough to make a square. Probably not enough to make it through this triangle, but we shall see how far it goes. This one's virtually dead already. This one's barely worth it, but well, So yeah, so how are you doing, Flusenby? Oh. Darling. I'm over twice your age. So. I probably have way more of those days than you do, but yeah. Um, so I do feel for you, dear. I do feel for you. Um, Let me turn this thing down again, because even though I turned it down, you know, turn it down a bit more. It was getting a bit loud in my ear. It's everything is like the TV. Have you ever noticed that you're trying to watch TV and you can't hear a sodding thing, so you turn it up a bit? Then, of course, all the explosions start, and now your windows are rattling, so you turn it down again. And you find a kind of happy medium where, yeah, I definitely can relate to that. And there's nothing wrong with party people, but like everything, there is kind of a time and a place, and well, that, you know, and it's not always when they think. Well, I definitely relate to that, as you know. I was suffering from co-worker frustrations today. So, for example, kind of, it started yesterday, and I thought I'd kind of, you know, maybe they were just having a bad day. You know, we've all had days where you turn up and you're not fit to be alive, let alone at work. Not because you're sick, just because your brain hasn't kind of come with, right? And they went into a meeting that we'd talked about an awful lot over the last few months, and basically re-asked the exact same questions that have already been answered like 20 friggin' times. And it was kind of like, we covered this, you were supposed to be doing this, oh, I was really busy last week. Yeah, but that doesn't exclude the last, like, 4 years, you know. And then there's also the, busy doing what, darling? Because, well, you didn't do any of my tickets, you didn't do any of the other tickets, and so, I'm sorry, busy doing what, exactly? And so, you know, and then, you know, kind of this morning, more of the same kind of issues, but from somebody else, and you're just like, I am out of sympathy juice this week. You've all used it. You know, prepare the wrath of stupidity now. And the guy who's doing our help desk, he's a nice guy. Nothing wrong with him as a person. Is there a problem with these two servers? No. Why? Oh, well, so-and-so says there's a problem. And, you know, these two, sorry, I think it was two people. Two people have said there's a problem with it, but it's different from the previous problems. Okay, so what's the problem? Well, I don't know. You're the fucking help desk, dude. Didn't you ask them? Kind of having to explain, find out what their problem is to the help desk dude who's convinced he should be doing bigger and better things. Kind of infuriating, really. So yeah, I could do without some of that. Okay. So I was trying to work out, one of my co-workers was moaning that he'd been fiddled on his pay. And, you know, he showed me the wording as to what should have happened, and I agreed with him that it's not ambiguous, it seems very clear, you know. If you did this, then that should be yours, you know. And it's just suddenly dawned on me. What is he on about? But of course, today they sent out the pay slips that will get paid for by the end of the week. So, that's how he knew. That's how he knew. Running out of space, and because these bobbins are prone to movement, it is really, we're discussing this now. Do not be expecting to hear a discussion about whether a guy sits down when he pees. I'm gonna put a stick on, I think. See, the fact that they roll is really annoying. So let's give you a couple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put you in a stick for now. Just to try and get a bit of security. Once you've done a few chunks, it's not so bad because they've all kind of, most of the threads are fairly well stable and held in. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's until then when and you're running out of room that you end up with kind of mayhem, really. So yes, hello, how are you doing? By the way, yesterday's YouTube video is doing cracking. Lots of people are watching it. Good. Living is a good thing, even if it's a bit of a struggle. So yes. Getting backache now. yes, yesterday's YouTube video seems to be going down quite well. Kind of surprised in a way, because I mean, I know obviously these videos are excessively repetitive, and to be honest, doing the strips is kind of going to be similar. But unfortunately, that's what happens when hobbies are repetitious. It's not like, you know, embroidery where you've got different flowers and colours and patterns forming. And well, you have patterns forming, but you kind of move bobbins around and stuff falls out the other end. So with that in mind, I'm pretty sure the whole kind of strip event is going to be as boring as squares, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to measure them as yet. Probably two kind of slidery type bars, thermometer style. One for the overall percentage and one for the percentage of that strip comes to mind. Right. Try not to laugh, but once we get to the bomb, we can then start working sideways. This bobbin's kind of in need of a bit of a cheer up because it's a bit loose and weird all over the place, so I need to undo a load and what to do. Hang on. There we go, that's a bit better. Time to knot these two together. And I do appreciate that the fact that I can't knot them on the stream really does not make it for the most interesting viewing. But that's what happens when you're blind as a mole. So your glasses then make everything too small, so you need to do it without your glasses so that they're actually big enough. And then of course by doing so you have to do it on the end of your nose. These are far too long, but never mind. Let's do these up a bit. So we get to the bottom. Okay. That's you. Always makes me laugh. I live in a little village and the speed through our village is 30 miles an hour. There are no roads within quite a throw that have a speed greater than 30 miles an hour. So when you can hearing someone let it rip, usually a motorbike, they must be doing 80 or 90 from what you can hear. And you're kind of going, and where are you doing that, my friend? Because, you know, with any luck, Mr. Plod will come and get you. And I will laugh at you. For I think it's funny. I still think one of the funniest things I ever saw. Now, I mean, like most people who drive, there are times that you're a little bit more adventurous and times that you're not. And, you know, I'm not saying that there isn't a time that I probably have not gone over the speed limit. Well, in fact, I'm pretty sure there are times I've definitely gone over the speed limit. Some of them in full awareness of my doings, and some maybe not so much. Because, you know, if you're in a 60 zone and it's got a real downhill on it, there are some times that you look down and go, oh shit, I'm doing 70, you know, or more, depending on the car you're in, because if it does it quietly, especially, then, well, that really doesn't help. Anyway, I mean, I have some records. I have some personal bests that, frankly, are quite astounding. But it's not usually something you do in a built-up area without knowing what you're doing. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, you should be, you know, I mean, because obviously you don't want to be caught by the police, you know, even if you are doing it, you know, especially if you realise you're doing it with intent. You know, if you know that you are kind of breaking the speed limit, then, well, if you get caught, it's fair dues, right? But I was driving down a road that is a really wide road. It's basically wide enough to be a dual carriageway, but it's not. And it's 30. And it's got a real downhill slope to it. And in fact, it's the same road that I tell the tale of the woman who can't drive in snow about, because it took her like 45 minutes to get up it, because every time she went to start, she revved the crap out of her car, the back end swung everywhere, she hit the brakes in a panic and had to start over again. And so we didn't get very far in a hurry. It's not a really long road, I mean it's maybe half a mile, right? This bit of it anyway. But instead of doing my usual, you know, because it was a time in my life where I was a little bit more free and easy with the ways of the world. I would normally have just let the car roll down the hill, and by the bottom it probably would have got to about 45, right? But there was something about, it wasn't the car behind me, because he was just being a car behind me. It was the car behind him. Now, I had no real way of telling. There was just something. And if you're about to do something stupid, being aware of your surroundings is really quite a vital thing. Because stupidity does not favour the brave, right? If you are not aware of what you're doing, it can often end up in, well, problems. Hang on. Oh, no, that's alright. That's right. For some reason, my brain had farted again. And so I was suspicious of the car behind the one that was behind me. Now, he was a fair way behind. But I, like a saint, drove down this road at exactly 30 miles an hour. I also need to point out it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So it's dark, it's kind of wintry, but not like ice and snow wintry. It's just dark. It's just that proper, really dark that you get with winter. But I was suspicious of this car, and, you know, didn't want to push my luck, so instead of doing, you know, letting it go, I did the. Now, this obviously really annoyed the shit out of the man behind me, because, well, clearly he had the same original intentions that I would normally do at that kind of hour, which was to get wherever he was trying to go as, you know, as quickly as humanly possible. So, pull up to the roundabout at the bottom of the road, which has also got traffic lights. And needless to say, in true annoying form at 2 o'clock in the morning, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the traffic lights go red just before we get there. So we have to sit at these red traffic lights when there is no other living being pretty much driving within, you know, any conceivable distance of where we are. So, you know, slightly irate, but, you know, it is 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just still was not comfortable with the car behind me. Sorry, the one behind him. Anyway, the lights finally go green, and we move on to the roundabout. For immediately, the traffic lights, because in England, we have weird traffic lights. We have weird roundabouts and weird traffic lights, right? So, in this particular case, there's a roundabout and traffic lights for each of the 4 entrances. But there's also traffic lights on the roundabout to stop the traffic on the roundabout to let a lane onto the roundabout. So, there's basically double lights. So, and in this case, our lights go green and immediately go red so that the section in front of us can now go, even though they can't go because their lights are red. They're all screwed up, in short. But this obviously pissed off the dude behind me after having driven half a mile down this road at 30 miles an hour. And I mean, God forbid, because, you know, it's not like I was doing 10 here. You know, we were doing the speed limit. So he lets rip and overtakes me through the red lights, even though there's nobody there, and I would argue it's perfectly safe. Yeah, that car I was suspicious of. On came the blue lights. And I howled with laughter. Oh God, did I howl with laughter. But moreover, I howled with laughter significantly. I need to move the microphone a bit because I keep hitting it with my hand. There we go. I howled with laughter so hard that when the lights did turn green and I could have left the roundabout, I was too busy laughing. I'm sitting there howling and so I had to wait for another one. Because there's no way I'm jumping those lights because, you know, knowing my luck, someone will be lurking. But it did make me laugh because, you know, you could see this guy, stupid bitch, you know, kind of thing out the window. And And then, woo! Yeah, I laughed a lot. And he deserved it. Go with your gut, my friends. For if you are not confident, because I mean, to be honest, he could have been a cop. Because you know, unmarked cops are quite common here. You know, unmarked cops seem to be a lot more common than we like to think. But you know, so as I said, if you're doing something dumb, expect to be caught. If you get away with it, grats to you. If you don't, well, you kind of, you knew that was a risk. It's the same as any kind of, you know, if you burgle somewhere, not that I've ever done so, but, you know, if you burgled somewhere, if you get caught, don't be surprised. You know, you were doing something illegal. You know, if you got away with it, it's kind of impressive. Don't push your luck. So yes, it was. I do like moments like that. I'm also always very, very sad when they don't get caught, because I remember watching one guy. I'd been in McDonald's. I don't go to McDonald's a lot, but I do occasionally have vast hankerings for McDonald's. And why are you weird? Let's take you out of the stick. There's something weird going on. There we go. Right. Sorted them out. But, you know, I'd been in McDonald's. I bought myself a burger. I'd sat there munching on my burger. And then was setting off home. And the guy in front of me had also been to McDonald's. He pulled out and then went down his window, and out the driver's window, not even the passenger window, the driver's window, he must have lobbed like a family order of packaging from McDonald's. So there was a tray, 3 cups, you know, 4 or 5 burger kind of clamshell things, you know, 5 or 6 packets of, you know, punnets of chips. Not the contents, the empty wrappers. And he just flung them out the window. And literally, pretty much, the moment they hit the floor and he'd gone about another 2 yards, bear in mind we're doing 30 mile an hour, round the corner comes the copper, and it's like, how come you couldn't, you came that you know, timing could not have been more fluke. It's a bit like when you have one of those films and it's kind of a comedy, and, you know, they bob up and down or whatever, and they keep missing each other because, you know, the other one bobs down or turns round or opens a door when the other one's just shut the other, and, you know, all of those kind of moments. But it was kind of like, how did that copper manage to miss this guy? Because he didn't yeet it all in one go. No, he had a little bit of a... It took him a while to chuck all this stuff out of his window because, well, he was driving. And then there was the guy who I really thought was probably going to call the police on me. I was driving behind him and none of his backlights worked. Well, I'm behind him, so I don't know if his front lights were working, but none of his backlights were working. So I tried to flash him and pull him over to tell him, because that's the kind of dumb thing over here. And he ignored it. So I continued, you know, occasionally flashing, especially when it looked like he was, you know, not necessarily, you know, more likely to be looking behind and all the rest of it. And he kind of wound up in the Tesco car park, so I followed him in, and I'm trying to kind of see where he pulls in to go and tell him, and he's getting really irate. He obviously thinks that I'm like about to mass murder him or something, right? And it's kind of like, dude, I just hope you get done by the police. Screw you, you know. You know, one woman in a Mini is really the least of your worries, you know. look at the yawn. Excuse me. Oh, that was a big one. That crept up on me, that one did. I'm going to have to say, I don't think that this stream is going to be the longest one I've ever done. And I think it's going to be the one where I achieve the least. Right. 1, 2, 3, 5. That's interesting. I always thought this was 15 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I could have sworn this first section was 15 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. Oh, it is 14. Okay. I could have sworn it was 15. You'd think by now I'd have known, wouldn't you? The heat's really got to me. It's. I mean, I've even had to take my poncho thing off because, well, it seems to be getting hotter, not colder. As I said, I knew when I started this stream that this was not the stream I wanted to do entirely. What I really wanted to do was, well, frankly, anything else. But we are in a position where I am, you know, this is our last square that we intend to make, well, of these squares. But to be honest, maybe not. I might do some more of these squares over the course of a period of time with some colour or some sparkle or some beads. I might do variations on a theme and do something and, you know, add it to the bottom of my curtain. So, because I can always make it longer. Well, if I did like the cloth stitch bits in a bold colour, let's call it a bold colour, that could look quite pretty. It would stand out quite well. Now, obviously, part of the problem is you can't. So, for example, unlike knitting, I can't kind of change it and make this whole internal bit red, right? Because threads that come down this way would have been white from before, and threads that go this way, well, they'd be red going out. So it would all end up kind of pink. So from that point of view, doesn't really work. But I do want to play a bit more with colour. I have lots of ideas and my brain's still thinking net curtains. So of course it wants to do en masse style issues, which it really does need to shut the fuck up when it comes to some of these things. Because one thing it wants to kind of do, and I'm sure you'll understand this, is if you think of like this grid mesh here, right? Obviously it makes a grid. Well, what my brain wants to do is kind of like every 10 stitches to do a colour. Now maybe the same colour, different colours. And form then like, so having colours come every 10. As a bit of an interest. What can I hear? Rory! Stop licking that. I haven't had a spam bot for a while. You came to die, Mr. Spambot. I don't know why you do it. I really don't. I wouldn't mind, but you've got to click so many bits and then type in a reason and... There you go. Right. So yeah, it's hello Rory, you're a good boy. So I kind of wanted to do something else. I kind of wanted to play a bit with my strip. I wanted to kind of, I have thought of a thing to do with my strips, but I need to kind of check how that works out. And I know it's going to make a lot of Irish sense. So if you think of these strips, hang on, grab strip. Let me move these out of the way, because, well, now I can easily move them. It's a good thing. Right. I don't have a dark cloth to hand to bite me. Alright. So if you think of these strips, there are 5 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I kind of need to work out how I'm going to do it so that in the meter that we have, I don't think I want the same, you know, whichever variety of spider that I choose to do in the end, right? Sorry, laughing at something as I just said. It's the same problem with this. It's not the same video as the Vaseline comment, but he's watching something else and he's just said, the quote was, I've seen leukemia patients with a higher red blood cell count. And it's about Escape from Tarkov. It's kind of like, that's anemic, dude. Anyway, And by the way, leukemia patients don't lose red blood cells, they lose white ones, but let's not get into that. So I've got my 5 spots, and I haven't decided what kind of spider I want. I still feel a bit of a need to go on a kind of quest for spiders. And I do think of my dear friend, Silver of Dragon, who, in fact, let me shout out Silver of Dragon because he is a cool dude. Silver of Dragon, who talked about writing a book about spiders, because there are so many minor nuances and differences to all of the bits you can do for spiders. And so I haven't decided what spider I like the most, because I haven't covered half of them. And of course the other thing is the size of them. Now on this one here, actually I do need a dark cloth. Where's a dark cloth? Let me find one. I do need it to have a bit of a background because otherwise it's a bit busy. So there you go. Right, there we go. Makes it a bit easier to see. I did do a single rose ground. I wanted to kind of picture how it sat. So what I can do is, instead of having these larger squares, do like a single rose ground. Which means that these will then, the other spiders, however frequent I choose to do them, will stand out a bit more. But at the same time, I still would be left with, do I want to do kind of big, small, big, small, big, small, or big, small, small, big, small, small, you know, kind of problem, right? Because I kind of want the same at the top as I do at the bottom, because I want them to be symmetrical, because, well, bite me. And then, do I want, you know, if I, let's say I go with big, small, so use that as a small maybe, so maybe this big rather than this big, you know. But do I want big, 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 small, 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 whatever, right? Do I, you know, do I want them the same, or do I want them staggered? Do I, right? And it becomes, it becomes a problem, and it is something that my little brain is not sitting well with, is making decisions. So I do feel a need to make more strips of testing. I have thought maybe of a way to make this one so that the second cell, so if I put this the right way around, which is this way around, because I joined it this way around, so the left cell here disappears and looks very much like the cells to the right. This last cell of this strip is a bit bigger, and part of that is because it did not gain, even though these have the same amount of threads as these, because they are slightly more closed, because there are crossings over, it makes these circles look bigger, hence it looks like there's a bit of a fold line in it. And I have thought of a way of fixing that, which was kind of my original plan, to be honest. But when I'd done this, I was so pleased with it that I didn't think to keep going and come back the other way. So I do need another strip. Oh God, I need more strips. But then, as I said originally, you know, there could easily be 15 different ways of doing this. And there's, I mean, I still want to do the join as you go method. So there's another strip. I still want to do that just because I think, even though when I tried it I screwed it up somehow, I must have done. I swear I screwed it up. I need to get that one out of my head. I need to do that one and go, look, see, no, and move on. I need to do the whole strip and not just undo the little bit that I've just done, right? Which is what I did last time. So I need to do a whole strip and bear with it and go for it. So I don't know. There is challenge ahead, I think is the phrase. But I could do what I did with these, but come back the other way. So with this one, I loop round the two bits that butt together. So all of the people who told me the butting together wouldn't work, bite me, right? That's what these are, all the way up. So it loops around that and then comes and goes up through the little join back here. So if I do that coming down the other side, I reckon that will equal it out, and then it will be, hopefully, I mean, it could look worse, in which case we won't do it and we'll stick with this one, right? That's the whole point. You got to try these things. And I'm not undoing them because each of them has a merit, I think, is the short answer. Because this one looks like there's a design pattern and gives a bold stripe, which can be quite pleasant, and I don't dislike it. In fact, I could agree to convert to doing strips with this as my basis for a join. But of course, doing this, A, you don't lose, I know it's only one hole each side of the strip, but it would have meant that this strip became one hole shorter than it currently is. So these, you know, the outside strips would look fatter than the inside strips, whereas this way they are all equal. I haven't decided whether I want snakes down both sides. I kind of do. But maybe I don't. Maybe I want to do a chevron out of cloth stitch or half stitch, or even maybe half stitch. Or maybe the kind of fake cloth stitch thing that I worked out that is much more frail and flimsy, but at the same time is a bit more light and airy for the whole kind of, you know, neck curtain effect that we're after. It's right, my co-worker just sent me a picture of something he's got for his daughter's birthday. There is something about my co-worker that has always been true, and it makes him slightly irritating, but in a good way irritating. So he seems to know or get hold of or have access to, or any of the words in that line, famous people. Oh, okay, right. It looked like a really big card, but it's not. I'm not going to say what it is in case they watch my videos at some point. But, you know, it is kind of interesting. So, I remember he went on holiday and he came back and the words out of his mouth, and I have no reason to doubt him. Because I know that I've seen him have text messages from famous people, right? Cool. So yeah, I'm really pleased. The guy just has connections, and you know, for birthdays and Christmases and stuff, he tends to get stuff from the famous people for the kids, or his wife in one particular case, because she's got a bit of fascination with someone, and it is just really part of me. Well, as someone who never really had presents, doesn't enjoy presents as a result, because I almost don't know what to do with them. I mean, I mentioned it on the stream yesterday. For my parents, only ever got me one present for Christmas, one present for my birthday. And I'm not talking like, oh, for your 18th, they bought you a car. No, they didn't. I bought my car. I have finally had a job. I saved up for it, and it cost me 500 notes, and it was marked for red Cortina. And my father's first words on seeing it is, "Whose is that piece of shit in the driveway?" To which I proudly said mine, and he nearly killed me. Because he wanted to vet it, and he wanted me to spend a vast fortune that I didn't have on buying a car that I couldn't afford. Really? Sorry, reading my co-worker's response. But yeah, it is kind of one of those issues, right? Is that, I mean, if my parents were still with me and still in the giving presents kind of mood, they'd probably send me a reel of cotton. That's the kind of level of present I would get. And I'm not talking it would be silk. I'm not talking it would be pretty. It would be a standard reel of cotton. Or probably almost one that's not suitable for lace making, right? Or they'd send me one acrylic ball of yarn. The cheap, nasty, crinkly, itchy kind. They were not generous presents. They were always, frankly, a little bit shit. And so I'm just not used to it. And so when I see the things that he gets for his family, it seems so lavish. I mean, they don't really cost him anything. So, if someone famous sends them a video, it's not really cost him anything. I mean, maybe it did. Maybe he had to bribe them a bit to do it, but I don't get the impression that there's money changing hands for these things. And so it is kind of difficult when, I think that, my parents would never have gone out their way to contact someone I had respect for to get them to even sign a card or anything, because obviously videos and internet shit wasn't a thing when I was a kid. But, my parents wouldn't have done it even if I was, that age now. That was not their way of being. It was a bit like being Amish. My parents were anti everything. I wanted a push bike, I had to buy it. I wasn't allowed a job to earn it, but I had to buy it. And my parents never understood why the moment I could join the church choir, I was in. I was allowed to join at the age of 13. I was in. From day one, I was in. Because at the end of every year, you got a minor payment, but you also got to do weddings, and they were £3 a wedding. Well, when you can't have any money, £3 a wedding, you might get 3 weddings on a Saturday. That's £9. Now, sure, I wouldn't really get out of bed for £9 an hour, let alone, because, £9's not exactly raking it. But £3 for an hour's work, £3 an hour, no one in this, it's not even minimum wage, dude. But it is one of those things, is that you're sitting there going, and that's minimum wage today, let alone back then. But it was one of those things, is that it meant that some Saturdays I came home with a tenner. Well, my push bike cost me £105, age 16. Well, it meant I could earn it in a summer. Because people are getting married in the sunshine, not too surprisingly. I could earn it in a summer. Now, here was the catch. I then work. Now, the biggest problem as a choral person is you have to sit and endure the wedding. So I watched far too many weddings. Because you can't really escape. You're sitting in front of the altar doing chirpy, chirpy, chirp, chirp. As a bell ringer, you get there a bit before, you go Yankee, Yankee, yank, yank, dong, 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 dong. Once she arrives, you can fuck off for half an hour. And during that half an hour, you go to somewhere else and ring their wedding in. So it was very uncommon as a chorister to have 3 weddings on a Saturday, but you could do it. It was, you know, if you had like a morning one and a couple of afternoon ones, you might get 3 on a Saturday. As a bell ringer, 3 was quite easy, because there are like 5 churches near us, and, well, all you had to do is find someone with a car, because I didn't have a car at that point, find someone with a car, and get them to do all of the weddings too, because, well, it paid for their money, right? Paid for the petrol, and back then petrol was cheap. And so as a result, you sat there and went, yeah, if I could do 3 weddings, £3 a go. The easiest one was in Uxbridge, where you rang at St Margaret's, St Andrews, and then Hillingdon up the hill, and you know you could walk between them. It was, you know, that was the best one, but there were plenty of choices. Yeah, I did a lot of that, and that was how I earned my money to buy a car and to get a push bike. My parents would never have paid for anything for that. My parents wouldn't even, the only thing my parents did buy me that was good was on my 17th birthday. They did agree and bought me driving lessons. And I did have a driving lesson on my 17th birthday. That was the one thing they did do that was cool. Everything else, I mean, my 21st birthday from my mother was a second-hand book that cost her 5p that I would never have read in a month of Sundays. And I've still never read, and I'm 53 this year. It was just not the kind of book I'd want to read. So yeah, but I need to make more strips, because I really like these strips. I like the fact that they're just that little bit lighter and, well, more neck curtainy, frankly. There's something about them that the squares have a bit more placemat feel to them in my mind, which is really weird because the thread is barely thicker and the holes are barely closer together. But obviously it is just enough, and it's like knitting gauge, I guess, is that the difference between what, you know, too tight and just right and slightly loose is really does show in the end, but at the same time doesn't feel like a big difference when you're doing it until you see the end result. And so I'm really pleased with these. So this is size 60 thread, this is size 40. These are 2.4mm diagonals, and these are 2.5. So the difference between the pins is frankly kind of almost incalculable with the human eye. But obviously marginally bigger, marginally thinner thread just gives me this extra nice, I'm really liking this kind of thing. Now, of course, I could remake all the squares with thinner thread, and I think that would probably terminate my sanity. So, but I need to work out kind of what I'm going to do for my strips. But I really do like them, and I do like, you know, this join is, I mean, obviously, if you screw it up, for example, so some of the many mistakes along the way. There are quite a few after all. I saw one earlier. Where is it? There it is. This bit where I didn't do it right and it kind of makes a pair of owl eyes or whatever. I need to, you know, there's going to be a whole load of those in the final product. But I do really like this. And I could see, and one thing, as I said to you before, is that if I decided to do all the strips the same, well, of course, what I could technically do is one mega long strip. So instead of making, I don't know, 7 1 meter strips, I could make 7 meters. And just make one long one, chop it up, join them together. But I kind of feel that's the wrong way of doing it, because obviously, even though these were terrible joins because they were all kind of a bit slap hazard and full of knots, and all I did was knot it and trim the bottom. If you're going to put that inside something else, it doesn't matter. It's not like a bookmark where the top and the bottom are going to be on show in this case. They're going to be held inside a bit of cloth so that I can slip a rod through it. Well, in which case then, it doesn't matter how scaggy the bottom is, but it also avoids some of the join issues that I've had, in that I won't necessarily feel this burning need to glue the living crap out of it. So again, I think that there's lots of benefit, I think, to making it in a strip. So in a strip it's going to be, as we know, and I just need to decide how I'm going to do the spiders. Because this one, I like how it looks on a smaller spider, but this one, although two threads are a bit loose, I think it loses something in being bigger. It has, I mean, I like it, but I think it loses something. And so I am kind of, I mean, I quite like this one, but I don't think I really want this for a curtain. But I quite like how this one turned out. I kind of like how that turned out. That was nice. Okay, gave it a bit of a funkier feel to it. So I do need to have a bit of an experiment. This, not so much. Didn't like how this one turned out. This was basically that one, but after I'd done the surrounding square. But obviously, because at the end of the square you got 4 threads coming out from here, it meant that you didn't get this spread. So it didn't really work as well. What I should have done is just kept doing the normal ground in one strip, and then done it. It probably wouldn't have looked quite so naff. But I need to do more strips. But again, I could put beads on this. I could put some colour on this. I mean, because of the way the spiders work, to a large extent, I think if I put colour on those spiders, the spiders will... So if I made these 3 incoming threads a dark colour, these spiders, or glittery or something, these spiders would very much maintain that all the way down. So that could be quite pretty. I think that could be really striking. There are just too many possibilities, and my head is melting in options. And being indecisive, it's never a good sign. I almost need someone to say to me, no, don't do that, do this, make this, put that there, that will look best, and then I just make it. I mean, I love the snakes, I really love the snakes. Now, you see, part of me says, if I did the snakes in a duller colour, so not white, so beige, for example, so they fade a little bit, but that they're also still visible. So, you know, but I think that could look a bit weird. I don't think, you know, if I did them like lime green or something, you know, or like Christmas green, that green you get around Christmas, or red or blue or something, I think it would look a bit much. Silvery or gold could be quite nice. Putting a bead in the middle of each blob of spider could be quite nice, although I think it would get a bit busy. It would have to be a really tiny bead, but I have some really tiny beads. I've also bought some more crochet hooks, she says, looking around, wondering what the blazes she did with those. I had them mere moments ago. What the hell did I do with them? Oh, I bought some more crochet hooks, so some slightly bigger. Because obviously the one that I did buy was really flimsy and didn't really catch the thread very well. So I've got a couple of different sizes to help with that. But again, don't really need to do that with these. And of course, if I was going to do the join as you go method, I can use a much bigger one because I only have to fit through this hole. So that can be a lot bigger. But never mind. I'm going to crack off for the night and go and I'm gonna upload to YouTube and eat some food because I haven't really eaten anything this evening. So I'm gonna go and do that. That's going to be my fun thing and try and work out where the hell I put everything. So I'm gonna let you go. Oh, I need to take a photo, of course. Something I need to do. The traditional photo. We need to do that. Hang on. There we go. Why is it on Do Not Disturb? So yeah, but I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, I believe, and I need to put bins out tomorrow because it's been a bank holiday, so I'll have forgotten by tomorrow. But I'm aware of it today. But there you go. So I hope you enjoyed today. It's not been too insanely boring. I do appreciate that it's not exactly, you know, thrilling. But, you know, you've seen my bobbins and how they've turned out. You know, as I said, I did a few more. These ones I haven't varnished yet, so I will do that later. But they are... Someone on the lace group went, oh, they look terribly heavy. Well, why, yes. Yes, they are. In comparison to, like, Honiton toothpicks, yes, they are really heavy. And, you know, a handful of them has good weight to them. But, I like the idea of heavy, because obviously they have a good clunk to them. But they do, I mean, they do roll. See, they do roll. They do roll quite well if you kind of give them a bit of welly. But if you put them down, I mean, that one's doing quite well. But they also do have kind of a... See, they can roll quite a bit. There's nothing stopping them. But if you don't put them down too harshly, they don't tend to gain too much momentum. So they're quite nice. I do like them. Can't wait to use them though. I actually want to do... I kind of want to make enough of them so I can do a strip with them. See how that goes. I'm also curious how many fit in a stick actually. So there's 10 here. Hang on. There's 10 here. If I lay them all down, I think there's 10. Count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Right. So that's 5.5 pairs of bobbins, and they do seem to sit in the sticks quite nicely. I mean, they can move, which is slightly annoying, but you know, there's room for a couple more. I mean, if I give them a bit of a shunt over, I reckon I could get 2 more pairs in there, so that's 7 to a stick. That could be quite useful. So I do quite like how they're all fitting together. Oh, there's the 12th one. It's lurking. There you go. Anyway, I'm going to wander off and get some food. I thank you for your company today. I know most of you have been quite quiet, but thank you very much. I will return hopefully earlier tomorrow, but it depends how work goes. Because they're changing all of our mailboxes tomorrow and I expect mayhem. So that could be a fun day. Not looking forward to that. I shall tell you how it goes tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.